Ya udah, sertifikasi.
Akhir-akhir ini mereka mengeluh dengan panasnya perut matahari. Biasanya mereka tidak kuat berlama-lama bekerja di ladang. Panggil Abu Nawas kemari. Ada tugas.
Saya buat itu. Farhan. Maaf Farhan. Maaf ya. Maaf ya. Kamu terlalu sayang.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi Bu Nina, sehat.
Puji syukur Pak Ahmad Nur Hadi. Terima kasih untuk bantuannya kemarin. Ya, wah, masih ada di belakang, masih party.
Pak Ibu selamat pagi. Pak Pepi masih 2 ya? Pak Pepi tadi ada Bu Nina
Oh,
kemana
Bu
ya?
Hani, aduh tadi saya ke ini WA-nya, chatnya
Gak
Pak
apa-apa.
Ketum.
Bu Nina di mana ya? Tadi
Bu
udah
Nina
masuk.
tadi ke ini. Oh, bentar.
Bagus saya masukin.
Bu Hani, kita ini udah live live YouTube
Oh langsung ya?
ya jam 9 tadi.
Oh walah,
Malah
gitu ya. Bu Nina bisa masuk deh.
kita pause dulu aja. Bisa.
Woi, gambarnya kok begini ya aku.
Bu Maria pakai nama siapa ya Bu Nina?
Halo, selamat
Bu,
pagi. Ibu Maria,
Bu
bolehkah
Nina.
dipersilakan masuk ya? Ibu Maria belum.
Iya, Bu Maria pakai nama siapa Bu Nina?
Ibu Maria.
Maria pakai nama siapa Bu Nina?
Ibu Maria Penida. Iya betul Bu. Namanya Ibu atas nama Maria
Oh
Penida.
RTN. RTN.
Maria Penida. Apakah
RTN.
laptopnya sudah nama Ibu Maria Penida? Oh iya sudah. Oh,
Oke.
Rotarian. Benar.
Bu Nina ini sudah live streaming langsung dibuat Pak Pepi. Jadi kita sudah live di YouTube.
Oh,
Iya.
iya.
Jadi monggo
Oke.
kita siap-siap, kita doa bersama dulu, lalu kita masukkan peserta, lalu Bapak Ibu bisa langsung menyapa.
Untungnya di YouTube belum ada yang nonton. Baru.
Oh, masih aman Pak Pepi.
Nggak apa-apa, tapi kan udah live tuh udah bisa
Ya,
dilihat orang.
iya.
Ibu
Maaf,
asli
saya ngelihat
15 menit.
jadwal, saya pikir jam 9 pas, makanya itu kan di setting jam 9 langsung.
Ibu Asri 15 menit lagi atau 10 menit lagi bergabung Ibu Asri.
Oke.
Pak Pepi terima kasih.
Yang bantu dari Gegap, Bu. Barusan Pak
Ah,
siapa Bu Hani, alhamdulillah bisa nyambung.
ya,
Iya.
Bu Hani terima kasih, Pak Win terima kasih.
Next time kita besarkan ininya ya, kita besarkan kapasitasnya ya.
Benar. Mhm. Ini latar belakangnya di tempat saya asik loh, Bu Hani dan semua.
Ini saya lihat ada kopinya ya.
Asik banget
Pak
ya.
Ketum ada kopinya nggak?
Wah,
Oke,
Saya
Bu Nina, jadi
terdengar.
pagi ini kita akan
Oke.
dimulai dengan kegiatan sesuai running ya, Pak Pepi. Kita, uh, langsung masuk nanti di Bu Maria, kemudian pada saat peserta nanti sudah masuk, Pak Pepi bisa menayangkan video-video yang sudah disiapkan itu.
Oh iya.
Kira-kira seperti itu.
Mohon izin, Bu Hani, Bu Maria boleh dimasukkan kembali?
Bu Maria,
Belum dimasukkan. Minta tolong di ini.
sudah Bu Nina?
Oke, terima kasih. Sudahkah Ibu?
Oke, Bu Nina, mari dipimpin kita memulai, kita doa dulu.
masuk ya.
Sebentar ya.
Sudah ini apa?
Pak Sandi dulu.
Pak Ketum, suaranya bisa dicoba, oke Pak?
Halo, terdengarkah?
Bagus Pak Ketum, sudah oke suaranya. Bu Nina, ayo dipimpin, kita mau masukkan peserta.
Baik, selamat pagi Bapak Ibu. Yang terhormat Bapak Ketum dan juga Ibu Hani dan seluruh jajaran PP dan juga semua panitia yang terlibat di acara webinar. Akhirnya kita bisa menyelenggarakan kegiatan ini, sekali lagi bukan dengan kekuatan kita melakukan bagian kita, tetapi sebetulnya ada bagian yang sebetulnya kita juga tidak bisa kendalikan. Tetapi by the way, sampai hari ini semuanya itu berjalan dengan baik dan saya sangat mengucap syukur, dan hari ini kita akan mulai prepare untuk kegiatan kita, mulai dari MC Ibu Maria juga sudah standby di sini, kemudian Ibu Asri 10 menitnya akan datang juga akan bergabung dengan kita, kemudian Ibu Ani sebagai fabris yang dari perwakilan alumni juga sudah hadir, Pak Ketum sudah hadir, untuk Pak Pepi media juga sudah siap. Dan sekali lagi saya mengucapkan terima kasih dan mungkin apakah ada yang mau disampaikan terlebih dahulu dari beberapa bagian? Silakan. Pak Ketum, ada yang mau disampaikan terlebih dahulu kan? Pak Win, ada yang mau disampaikan?
Kalau dari saya itu kemarin kita diskusinya udah oke, udah ada 100-an gitu ya. Dan untuk daftar juga sudah lebih dari 100. Dan selanjutnya
Suaranya mohon Pak Win, maaf.
Ya.
Suaranya.
Pak Win tidak terdengar.
Suaranya boleh didekatkan mic-nya?
Bagaimana Bu?
Oh ya, sudah.
Oke.
Ya.
Jadi untuk yang survei alhamdulillah sudah terkumpul 100-an lah ya, 100 lebih. Kemudian untuk yang mendaftar juga sudah lebih dari 100 dan mungkin akan terus bertambah. Dan untuk nanti ketika kita mengirimkan link daftar hadirnya sekaligus untuk pengisian sertifikat, yang sertifikatnya itu akan otomatis terkirim ke email masing-masing peserta. Dan itu tadi saya sudah kirimkan di grup kita ya Bu Nina. Saya takut saya nanti terlewatkan atau bagaimana. Kebetulan lagi di sekolah karena kalau di Aceh itu masih 6 hari kerja. Jadi dari Senin sampai Sabtu gitu. Jadi masih di sekolah ini dan kebetulan juga ada beberapa acara karena memang kita seminggu lagi mau buka masuk. Jadi perlu beberapa persiapan dan lain-lain sebagainya. Itu. Jadi tadi saya sudah kirim link daftar hadirnya. Nanti jikalau nanti saya lupa, mohon nanti dibantu untuk di-sharekan Bu Lina. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Win untuk kerja kerasnya. Good boy. Ya, kemudian Pak Pepi untuk di media, bagaimanakah Pak Pepi?
Ya Bu Hadi, sudah siap.
Siap Pak Pepi ya, dengan sesuai dengan rundown acara. Halo?
Ya, sudah siap Bu Hadi.
Siap, terima kasih Pak Pepi. Kemudian Pak Ketum, adakah yang ingin disampaikan ke kita semua terlebih dahulu? Motivasi mungkin, penyemangat.
Oke, sampai detik ini saya sudah merasa tenang ya. Kelihatannya ini sudah dipersiapkan betul-betul, walaupun kita di akhir-akhir ada kesalahan teknis tadi dari masalah link ini. Namun demikian, mudah-mudahan ini nanti ke depan kita diberikan kelancaran lah intinya. Yang kedua, ya mudah-mudahan kita hari ini bisa fokus karena kita akan berhubungan dengan teman-teman kita di seluruh Indonesia, juga terutama dengan kedutaan besarnya dari Rilo. Itu saja barangkali yang mudah-mudahan kita bisa memberikan kontribusi yang terbaik lah untuk negara ini. Terima kasih. Lanjut.
Terima kasih Pak Ketum. Pak Ketum siap dengan sambutan in English?
Saya coba ya.
Ya,
Jangan
pasti
diketawain
bisa.
ya.
Pasti bisa. Terima kasih Pak Ketum untuk
Siap,
semangat.
Kita nggak ada
motivasi.
yel-yel gitu penyemangat kita.
Itu Bu Hani itu biasanya pinter tuh kalau bikin yel gitu. Oke, baik. Kemudian untuk Bu Hani, silakan Bu Hani. Ada yang mau
Saya
disampaikan?
sudah oke sih Bapak Ibu, nanti benar-benar minta bantuan Bu Maria karena semua ada di tangan Bu Maria running kita hari ini. Jadi teman-teman membantu, kalau ada apa-apa kita ngechat langsung di grup chat kita supaya bisa terjalan dengan baik. Pak Pepi, terima kasih banyak ini upaya keras yang luar biasa. Semoga ke depannya kita bisa lebih baik lagi. Pak Ketum juga terima kasih.
Baik. Suaranya Ibu ya?
Bu Hani, ini nanti kalau kita mau nyanyikan Indonesia Raya langsung ada backgroundnya lagu Indonesia Raya kan supaya semuanya
Iya,
bisa. Oke.
ditayangkan Pak Pepi. Bu Maria suaranya agak ngebrong, Bu.
Agak gimana?
Agak ngebrong.
Agak Oke, masih?
Masih? Bu Nina lebih bening suaranya. Bu Maria di belakangnya
Saya
ada.
tidak memakai headset, Ibu Maria.
Halo, bisa lebih apa? Masih dengar?
Masih ngebrong sih di saya.
Apa keras? Suara saya tempat Bu Maria? Oke, saya buat sendiri.
Saya tukeran laptop dengan Bu Maria. Saya yang di tempatnya Bu Maria di tempat saya. Oke. Iya.
Enaknya kalau ngopinya deket ya, kalau ngopinya deket tuh gitu ya. Pak Ketum kayak kita yang kedua nanti Januari mesti live ini.
Oke.
Sama aja. Namanya soalnya bisa diganti. Namanya bisa diganti dulu. Atas nama Ibu Maria, saya Ibu Maria. Oke, saya ganti dulu. Tidak apa-apa.
Ini lebih bagus suaranya Bu Maria.
Oh iya, soalnya lebih bagus ini. Oke, silakan.
Oke.
Bisa diganti saja Ibu. Berarti ini ya? Sebentar, Bu Nina. Ini berarti ganti nama ini. Ganti nama. Benida. Okay. Thank you.
Ibu Maria bisa dicoba suaranya?
Halo, Bu Hani.
Kita sudah bisa
Wah,
masukkan peserta ya.
Bisa dengar suara saya sekarang?
Bagus,
Sudah
bagus.
semua dengan jelas.
Oke.
Jelas semua. Oke, Bu Nina silakan pimpin doanya, kita mau mulai.
7 menit dari waktu mundur untuk kita menuju 9.30. Sekali lagi kita akan menghadapkan diri kita masing-masing dan acara ini kepada Tuhan. Karena sekali lagi tanpa campur tangan Tuhan tidak mungkin acara ini terlaksana. Dan sekali lagi kita berharap lewat acara ini ada sebuah peningkatan dari guru-guru pendidikan di Indonesia, karena itu sangat penting sekali. Ternyata pada saat saya mendengar dari Pak Win dan juga beberapa orang yang jawab ke saya, mereka tidak berani mengikuti kegiatan ini karena faktor bahasa. Pentingnya peningkatan berbahasa Inggris untuk guru-guru komunikasi di Indonesia. Mari kita akan berdoa bersama menurut keyakinan dan agama masing-masing. Berdoa. Dan berdoa. Selamat Bapak Ibu, mari kita sapa kawan-kawan kita di sini.
Ya, Pak Pepi silahkan dimasukkan teman-teman.
Saya tutup suara saya supaya tidak mengganggu suaranya di hari.
Pindahkan kembali.
Oh, ini tetangga saya.
Halo, tes, cek.
Bu Era, tolong diedit segera ya.
No matter where I go, every time I look back on this road, you'll always be a part of who I am. Everything I've known, every seed of greatness you have sown, through good and bad, your love has watched me grow. You teach me right from wrong, inspire me to be strong. You care in every way, in my heart you will always stay in this moment. are here to guide my way. When I'm lost beside me, stay. In this moment, let me say, you turn my little into great. There's no fear, my dreams away with you. All that I can be means so much 'cause you believe in me. You show me how to live with dignity. When the lessons end, I can share with you just like a friend. Your love and smiles and frowns keep me safe. You teach me right from wrong, inspire me to be strong. You care in every way. In my heart, you will always stay. In this moment, let me say how I'm grateful every day. You are here to guide my way. When I'm lost beside me, stay. In this moment, let me say, you turn my little into great. There's no fear, my dreams away with you. Stay in this moment, let me say how I'm grateful every day. You are here to guide my way. When I'm lost beside me, stay. In this moment, let me say, you turn my little into great. There's no fear, my dreams away with you. And I really want to say thank you.
Mulai.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Morning. Yes, of course.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking your time to join in this webinar. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Maria Penida, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this significant and inspiring event today. We gather here not only as participants, but as advocates for inclusive and education. Our webinar today is the topic is about empowering mind, introducing English language learning for disabled students in especially in Indonesia. Is it a testament to the power of collaboration, innovation, and the shared commitment to creating more inclusive educational landscape? Before we dive in our rich content of our webinar, I would like to briefly read the program's rundown. Even though maybe everybody already have one of them, but I would like to read it right now. Uh, we can start at 9:45. We're going to open with
Si Nasrin,
with singing Indonesia.
Sorry, ma'am, your speaker is closed.
Okay, I'm sorry. Uh, the first 9:45, we're going to open with singing Indonesia Raya, national Indonesian national anthem. Then opening speech by the chairperson of IGPKHI, Dr. Andes Agus Mulyawan MPD, and then followed by the speech, opening speech from the director of Relo Indonesia, Ms. Ruth Guth. Then 9:45 to 10:05, keynote speaker by Dr. Dean Cloward from Idaho University, and then followed by the second keynote speaker, Miss Robe Burunga, a PhD from University of Massachusetts Lowell, and then followed by Q&A from about 35 minutes, I think, from 10:35 to 11. And then from 11 to 11:30 is a speech from our U.S. Exchange Spell alumnus, Miss Helena Cristiani, Mr. Kevin Neil Dalo, and also Mr. Sef Faris from Malaysia, and then followed by Q&A also, and then 11:50 to 12 is going to be our closing. Okay, I would like to everybody to unmute and open the video to show the respect, and we will start to we're going to sing national anthem in Indonesia right now. Thank you. Now will be followed by a prayer. We're gonna pray according to our own belief. The prayer started. Okay, finish. Uh, Thank you. Before we embark on this journey together, listen to our distinguished speaker and keynote speaker. Let's give our time to listen to an opening speech from Dr. Andes Agus Mulyawan, MPD, as chairperson of AGPKHI. Time is yours, Mr. Agus.
Okay, thank you. Maria Penida ya.
Yes.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Honorable Red Goody, Relo Director, U.S. Embassy Jakarta. Honorable Dr. Dean Clower from Universities of Idaho. Honorable Rubai and Weunga P.H.D. from University of Massachusetts, Lowell. Our distinguished guests, U.S. Exchange Fellow Alumni GPKHI Central Board, GPKI Region Board, and all respected participants of the webinar entitled Empowering Mind. Introducing English language learning for disabled students in Indonesia, Elwd. First of all, let us say thank you very much to our God. Because of him, we are about to join this webinar in a good condition and healthy. As the chairman of EGPKI, I would like to express my pride and gratitude for holding this international webinar, which is intended to increase the competency of Indonesian special education teacher in mastering English. It is a necessity of every teacher to develop and increase their complete competence. One of the key is mastery of English. Through English language skill, a teacher can open up knowledge and horizon of thinking. The result of which is optimal education service for students with disabilities. In the beginning of October 2023, starting from October 8 to 23 LD, IGPKI has sent 5 teachers to take part in the teaching English language learn with special needs program in the United States. The Universities of Massachusetts Lowell hosted the event together with participants from several countries in the Asian region, the teacher learning and exchange culture. I do hope that this activity will be continue in the future. To that, through IGPKI special education teacher in Indonesia, we will have wider learning opportunities abroad, especially in the United States. Expressing our deepest thanks to all parties involved, especially Brother Kevin Neil Dailo from the Philippines, Cikgu Sep Faris from Malaysia, Mr. Helena Christianti from Indonesia, as representative of alumni, are willing to share the God experience. Congratulations on implementing the international webinar together with again IGPKHI. We are moving forward to provide a better education service for children with disabilities. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Bandung, December 60, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agus, for the opening speech. Before we start with opening speech by Miss Ruth Good, I think we would like to sing IGKPHI Mars. So if could you play the music so we can thank you.
Kebutuhan khusus
Indonesia, majulah bersama. IGPKH, Profesi Guru Indonesia. Ikatan Guru Pendidikan Khusus menyambut semangat kehidupan. Memberi pendidikan khusus anak berkebutuhan khusus.
Thank you. And now I think we would like to hear a speech from opening speech from Miss Ruth Good. Your time is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so very much for inviting me to join you this morning. It's always an honor to work with teachers, and it's an especial honor to work with all of you who are working so hard to support inclusive education. My apologies to you. We are actually at the airport. We are on our way back from Banda Aceh. We're going to, Dr. Dean is going to Surabaya, and we are continuing our tour of Indonesian universities and special needs schools, where we have had some great conversations with teachers like you about the challenges and the successes of special needs education. So I just want to say one or two things. Number one, thank you to you for organizing this webinar. It is exactly what we hoped for when we sent 5 Indonesian teachers and teachers from other countries to the United States to give you an experience of a different situation so that you can learn and compare and discuss and now come back and share. So thank you very much for doing this important work. Number two, I am not an expert in special needs education. That is Dr. Cloward here. But in this past week in Jakarta, in Medan, in Banda Aceh, I've learned so much. And I've been reminded that we are all just one step away from being disabled. Right? Whether we have a car accident, whether we have a health problem, or whether it's just old age. So it's very important to make sure that all children have the opportunity to get the education they need to fulfill their potential. But it's also important that we create a world where all of us, young, old, disabled, or not with disabilities, can continue to live out our lives and to the max. So with that, I will just thank you for being here this morning. I'm really sorry we can't stay for the whole time. We'll have to go through airport security, but I hope we'll be able to connect a little later. So perhaps Dr. Cloward can be present and maybe answer questions if they come up. So thank you very much. Back to you, Ibu Maria.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth, for the inspirational speech. I know we cannot just leave behind all the students, the special needs student. They also have the same chance, just opportunity, just like others. Okay, without further ado, the time is arrived that we want to hear our keynote speaker. Dr. Dean, would you like, I know you're on the way to fly to Surabaya, but if you still have the time, we would like to hear the speech from you. Okay, time is yours, Dr. Dean.
Thank you very much. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to meet and associate with you. Many of you on this webinar I've already met and was so grateful to have met with all of them. I'm grateful to have been in this wonderful country and to see the work that's moving forward towards inclusive education. We've been to multiple universities, multiple schools, and seeing the work that's happening here. And it's a great work. There is strength in the community that's here and a commitment to inclusive education. Inclusive education is a critical part, not only just serving children with disabilities, but drawing circles big enough that no one is excluded based on gender or race or language, that we draw circles big enough that everyone feels a part of the community. And it's that community that will help move inclusive education forward. We had the opportunity yesterday at one of the universities to meet with faculty and staff, students, parents from the community, and disabled members of the community. They have a passion for what they're doing and a love in their heart for this work that's going forward. So I'm very grateful to have seen that, and hopefully we can provide training and resources that will help you move that forward. We put a link in the chat for those that would like to see it. It's just some resources gathered from around the United States that may be of benefit to you. Most of them are in English, but if you use Google Translate, you should be able to access them. And we have one more thing to say from Ruth.
Yeah, there's always one more thing from me. So thank you, Dr. Cloward, for coming all the way around the world to Indonesia to join us and to share his expertise. And as I'm afraid we cannot stay for very long, but on Wednesday at America, there will be a virtual presentation by Dr. Cloward. And I know my colleague, Elwd Safitri, will share that information with people so that they can share it with you. So at America is, Elwd has just texted me to let me know she will do that. So she will share the information so that you can see Dr. Cloward's full presentation on inclusive education, sharing his experiences with in the United States, and you'll be able to, we hope, ask some questions. So with that, again, I thank you for your time, and I apologize for not being able to spend more time with you. But we will stay connected and look forward to hearing of all the amazing things you're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dean, Dr. Dean Cloward. If anybody have a question, maybe you can send it to us. Maybe we can forward it to Dr. Dean Cloward, and maybe he can answer it later on. Next, I think our next keynote speaker is Miss Rabbi Varunga, PhD. So, is he already with us? It is. Okay. We still waiting for Miss Rabbi Farunga. So I guess I'm gonna take let Miss Astrid to take the place while we waiting. Okay, time is yours, Miss Astrid.
Thank you, Ibu Maria Penida. Good morning, everyone. My name is Asri Saraswati, and I am a lecturer at the University of Indonesia. I've been invited by the committee to serve as a moderator for the session with Dr. Dean Cloward as well as Dr. Robai Werunga, who will be joining us soon. As Ibu Ruth mentioned, aside from the talk by Dr. Dean that you just heard earlier, there will be a hybrid webinar held at America in Indonesia, in Jakarta. It's hybrid. It means that if anybody is in Jakarta, you can stop by at America, or you can also join through Zoom for the webinar. So, Ibu, we will later on share the link to that particular event. I would also like to read briefly the bio of Dr. Dean Cloward. Dr. Dean Cloward is currently a faculty member at the Brigham Young University in Idaho, United States. He is a dedicated educator in the elementary, early, and special education department in that university. In this role, he specializes in teaching within early childhood special education and K-12 special education programs. This program, he offers courses that cover topics such as assessment or evaluation, exceptional children, as well as courses on law and autism. His educational journey includes the completion of a doctorate program at the School of Psychology and Special Education, and he also received a master's degree in educational psychology, both in University of Arizona. So we look forward to everybody to join us on the conversation with Dr. Dean Cloward in at America if the schedule allows you to do so. Next, I would also like to introduce our second speaker, who is Dr. Robai Werunga. Dr. Robai Werunga is an assistant professor with specialization on curriculum and instruction. She is an assistant professor at the College of Fine Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences at the University of Massachusetts Lowell at the School of Education. Her expertise is on single case design research, multi-tiered system of support, as well as early literacy, behavioral intervention, and the issue of immigrant family empowerment and engagement. She received her bachelor's degree from the Egerton University in Kenya, and her master's degree on special education from Fayetteville State University in North Carolina, and her PhD on special education from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, United States. She is an assistant professor of special education at the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, and her research focus is in early academic and behavioral interventions through the multi-tiered system of support. Dr. Werunga's target population is the student. So she has been working very closely with students with or students at risk for emotional and behavioral disorders or EBD, and students who are learning with disabilities, with focus on the culturally and linguistically diverse learners. In addition, Dr. Werunga also does research on strategies that foster and promote meaningful family and school relations as well as family engagement. Okay, I'm not sure if Dr. Werunga has joined us. Let me check. Oh, okay. Yes, she's here. So I would like to welcome Dr. Werunga. It's very nice to see you again. And Dr. Werunga, if I'm not mistaken, will share a bit about teaching methodologies or working with students with disabilities. Hello, Dr. Werunga.
Good morning to you all. Good to see you, Asri.
I know, it's good to see you too. Yeah, so we look forward to your short lecture, and perhaps later on we can have a short Q&A.
Okay, well, thank
Okay.
you.
Go ahead.
Oh, am I on, like going on straight for the
Yes,
lecture?
yes.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
you know what? I do have a PowerPoint. If you don't mind, I could share. I can share the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. I just put something together. I did not anticipate to be like a lecture or anything like that, but it's really something very brave, just generally. But I will share the screen here in a minute.
Okay.
Let me go here and try to get the PowerPoint. My apologies. I did not realize it was like right away. I had to.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry for
get
the
yeah.
yeah, but it looks very sunny in Massachusetts because
Oh
there's a
no.
beach behind you.
Yeah, I wish. There's that's actually Puerto Rico. It's not Massachusetts. It's really cold right now.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
In Massachusetts, it's cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me see if I can share my
It's
slides.
okay. I can
And I'll do the slideshow from the beginning.
Okay.
Um,
And throughout the talk later on, if anybody from the audience have a question, you can write it in the chat room as well as unmute yourself. Bapak Ibu yang ingin bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia juga silahkan bisa taruh di chat room. Nanti kami akan terjemahkan untuk Dr. Obay. If anybody would like to write questions in Indonesian, you can, and we will translate it to our speaker.
Okay. I just prepared something simple, but I did not anticipate having to share it all, but I'm glad to share a little bit with you guys. So what I prepared briefly is just generally talking about the importance of setting high expectations for students with special needs, especially in thinking about supporting these students in an inclusive classroom. And I'm hoping that the audience here, most of the audience are classroom teachers who are with students with disabilities. And so I will just be talking in general how to, the importance, the core importance of setting high expectations for these students. And so the question is, why is it important to set high expectations for students with special needs, or in the United States, we call them students with disabilities or exceptional students. That's what we call them. But I know that a lot of times for teachers who work with these students, they tend not to set high expectations. And sometimes when that happens, it's not because of it's all usually through like they mean well when they do that. It's, you know, it's like trying to help the students because they think the students cannot achieve. But research has shown that when you set high expectations for students with special needs, then they will do well. So the question is, why high expectations? And the one point that I would like to put across is just that a disability is not an inability. Just because somebody has a disability, that doesn't equate to them not being able to perform well. And so it is critical that we provide high expectations for those students, because more likely than not, they will actually rise to those expectations. Also, there is a very high correlation between teacher expectations and student performance. So a lot of research has been done everywhere, including the United States. And what research shows that when teachers have low expectations for their students, this does lead to poor academic and behavior outcomes for those students. But on the other hand, when you have teachers set high expectations for their students, this usually leads to high academic achievements and positive behavior outcomes for students with disabilities. All students, of course, but also students with special needs or disabilities. So then the question becomes what is your role then for you as a teacher? So it is your role and your responsibility as you set those high expectations to support all your students to achieving those high standards that you set for them, and including students with special needs. Okay, and so after you set those high expectations, then the question becomes, how do you support them in achieving those goals? So one way that we do it in the United States, and I know the ASRI and the rest of the alumni will know this because I talked about this when they're in the United States, is what we call universal design for learning. And simply put, when you think about this universal design for learning, it's pretty much you as a teacher trying to change what you teach and how you teach it, instead of trying to change the student or fix the student. And so with the universal design for learning, you are ensuring that students with special needs are able to access the curriculum or that you've set out for them, and you provide support and modifications within that framework so that they can achieve the standard. So there are three main approaches to universal design for learning. And the first one is what I'll call representation. And within representation, you are actually diversifying the ways that you are providing instruction to the students. This means that you're not just teaching content in one way, but you are providing the content that you want your students to learn in different formats, so that all students, including those ones with disabilities, are able to access that content sufficiently in the way that they can do best, so that they can learn what you've prepared them to learn, and so they achieve those standards. And the second part of universal design for learning is through action and expression. And really, this is you as a teacher thinking on how your students will show you that they have learned what you want them to learn. And so when you think about that, you are thinking of multiple ways, or giving your students opportunities, different opportunities to show them that they have learned what you have presented to them. So for you as a teacher, for example, if you are giving an exam, a written exam for all your students at the end of the unit, that it's just one way that a student can show you that they've learned. So it is important that you think of other ways. What about the students that cannot sit down and write? It might be that one student in a classroom with a disability. They might have learned what you've taught them, but can they present it to you in writing? And if the answer is no, then you might have to find another way in which they can actually show you that they've learned. And that falls under the action and expression. How can they express to you as a teacher to show that they've learned what you want them to learn? And the last one, but not certainly the least, in supporting students through UDL or Universal Design for Learning is through engagement. And through engagement, what you are looking at is in ways in which you motivate your students so that they can interact with the materials that you have prepared for them, or you are teaching. And so you're thinking about ways to, for example, are they doing like peer or partner sharing? That is really important. Instead of you as a teacher just giving the lecture, how are you ensuring that they're engaging with that material? Do you have like computers or other things? If they have phones in the classroom, can you use those phones so that they can actually interact with what it is that you've prepared so that they can demonstrate those skills that you want them to demonstrate, to show that they have learned that that you want them to learn. All right. And so the next thing that you have to, after we think about the UDL and the process through UDL, the next part you think about universal design of learning is the process. What is that process of supporting the students with special needs in your inclusive English classroom? Because I understand that that's where you want to support these students. So there are 4 steps. We have 3 on this slide, and then the next slide will have the 5th step, the 4th step. So the first step here is starting with objectives or your goals. So for every teacher, when you have a lesson plan, you always have a goal. At the end of that lesson, what do you want your students to demonstrate? That when working with students with disabilities through universal design of learning, it is always important that you start with the goal in mind. Start with the goal. Where do you want your students to be at the end of the lesson? What do you want them to do at the end of the lesson? What do you want them to learn at the end of the lesson? Always start with that. Do not always start on how. When you start with the question of how the students are going to learn, then that is how you will live out your students who have special needs. But when you start with the question what they are supposed to learn at the end, then you're likely to include all of them. So the how they learn it is where the universal design for learning comes in. And you as a teacher, then you are looking at presentation, multiple ways of presenting the materials to them so that they can learn. Now, after you've considered your objective, the end objective of the lesson, the outcome of the lesson, then the second thing you have to do is examine your room, your environment in which learning is taking place. And so you're looking at your space or location of where your lesson is going to take place. And that is important because in doing so, you're looking at your students, right? Who is in your class? And how can they access that space that you have? So that's the question you're answering, but not you're asking, but also answering. How can you use that space so that you ensure that all your students, including those ones with special needs, can utilize that space efficiently and effectively so that they can learn what it is that you want them to learn based on that objective that you started with. And then after you've done that, so the third thing that you do is you examine the materials that you're using, the content you have prepared and the material. And when you're doing this, you're asking the question of accessibility. Can all your students, and in this case, we are thinking about the student with a learning disability or a student with a special need, do they have access to the information that you need them to access so that they can achieve the goals that you set for them? Do they have the ability to connect with that information? So when you think about those questions, you're asking and being proactive in providing that access in the various ways that you would like to do that. And that is really important that you do that when you're looking at the materials that you're using and who is in your classroom. And that is including, again, students with special needs and how they can access that content and the materials that you have. So that's the third thing in the process of universal design for learning. And that's what we call it in the United States. You don't have to call it universal for learning. And then so finally, after you've looked at those three aspects of the process, finally you consider the potential barriers. So a barrier here, you are thinking about anything that a student will interfere with that student's ability to fully engage with the lesson that you've planned for them. And when you think about barriers, they can be different kind of barriers. If a student with a special need has a physical disability, then the barrier might be physical. They might not be able to move around the classroom, to be able to interact and talk with other students, and that might interfere with their ability to actually learn the material that you prepared for them. Another barrier could be the lack of background knowledge. So you guys are teachers, probably you're teachers of English as a second language. So language could be the barrier. Background knowledge of that language, English, would be a barrier. And so when you're thinking about those barriers, you're considering how can you help your students so that those barriers do not stand in their way of learning what you planned for them. And so another barrier here could be difficulties with learning. And so it could be because of a specific learning disability. If they have a disability, they struggle with reading or writing, then that would be a barrier for them. And so when you think about this barrier, you're thinking of the proactive ways in which you can help the student so that they that barrier doesn't become such a stumbling block or a problem for them to access the material that you planned for them or that good lesson that you planned for them. And the last but not least, of an example for the barrier could be difficulties connecting with the lesson, or even you as a teacher. It might be just in a difference in the way you are teaching or the style in which you teach that will become a barrier for your students. If the student, you're teaching something in English and English is a problem, then they'll have a problem with connecting with that lesson, and that becomes a barrier. So those are the 4 things that you consider in UDL. Again, we start with the goals, and then examine the environment, examine accessibility, and then consider the potential barriers that might be in the way of the student. Okay, so after you've done that, then we consider, how do you support students with special needs within the UDL framework? And so in summary, there are so many ways that you can support the students within the UDL, but I just summarized 3 here. One of them is accommodations, and second one is modifications, and the last one is scaffolds. And so when we think about accommodations, an accommodation is something that you can use as a teacher to make the content accessible or the lesson more accessible. So it could be, it takes different kinds of forms. So you are not changing what you're teaching at all in an accommodation. You are just providing students with support so that they can access what you have prepared for them to learn. So an example of an accommodation could be reading something aloud for the student. If it's, you want them to understand some material that you prepared for them, then you want to and they have an issue with reading, then you read the material out for them so that they can understand it if reading is an issue. So that is an accommodation, and it can take different, and there are a ton of examples of accommodations, and I can share links with you later for those that are interested. But then, so a modification usually is you make a change in the curriculum on what you have prepared, so that it's not too overwhelming. And the reason being that maybe the content might be too overwhelming, and then when it's overwhelming, then it becomes so hard or very challenging for the student. So you tweak some changes, you take some things out, and just focus on the important things that you want the student to learn. And this will make learning a little bit easier for them for what you've prepared for them. And the last way that you can support a student with a special needs using within the Universal Design for Learning is using what we call scaffolds. And scaffolds is pretty much, in summary, is providing very intense support and very hands-on support in the front at the beginning of the student when you want them to learn a skill. And then as they develop competency or they become more familiar with what you expect them to do, then you pull out and let the student be more independent. So in summary, that is what a scaffold is. And I know that this is really general and it might be new information for some of you, but I'll be glad to provide more detailed resources for these 3 types of support that you can use within Universal Design for Learning. And that is really the end of my talk, but what I want to leave you with, and most important, is having those high standards for your students, so that they can rise to it, because every student will rise to that very high standard that you set them for. If you give them a standard this low, and that's how far they will go. But if you put it higher, then they will go up and reach up higher. And having those high expectations for your students with special needs, just like you have for students without special needs, is just as critical. Well, that is all I have to share for you guys, and we'll be glad to take some questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Werunga. There's some questions here already. I have some questions of my own as well, but I'll ask that a bit later. There's one question from Rusmiati from Malang, East Java. Her question is about English, teaching English for students who are deaf and mute. Is there any particular books or links, website links on the correct for the method or teaching materials that might be useful for students who are deaf and mute?
Yeah, there's some, and I'll be glad to share. Maybe I can share with you, and then you can share the resources with them. And just to as a disclaimer, that's not my area of specialty, but I know where to find the resources, and I'll share with you.
Okay, thank you so much. I would also like to inform our participants who are joining through YouTube. Untuk para partisipan yang bergabung lewat YouTube, mohon juga silakan bertanya dengan menuliskan di chat room di YouTube. If you want to ask questions, you can also write it in the chat room in YouTube. And kita ada panitia kami yang sedang memantau pertanyaan di situ dan bisa menyampaikannya nanti kepada Dr. Werunga. Oke, terima kasih. Okay, so while waiting for other questions that people might be sending in through YouTube or other means. Oh, Ibu Maria, you have a question? Go ahead, Ibu.
Yes, I would like to I have a question for Dr. Varunga, Miss Varunga. I know the education for the special need student is not the same thing like in United States and in Indonesia,
Yeah.
because the children with special need they can go to regular school in United States, but I don't think in
Yeah.
Indonesia. So that's the challenge for all of us. I'm glad that we have this type event, or even this is a time that we can maybe think about for the future for our student, special needs student in Indonesia. Maybe they
Yeah.
can have the same chance. And I'm interested with your whatever that your subject today. I would like to know if I can have some of your copy, so maybe I can share some of the teacher over here. That I think we need to do that in regular school also.
Universal design
Thank
for
you.
learning. Well,
So
thank
the
you. So
Yes.
yeah,
presentation
so today,
material.
I'm
so
sorry.
today's, go ahead.
Yes, the one that you have that's today that you
Yeah.
your speech today. Yeah, I would like to have the copy, so maybe I
Oh
can.
yeah, the slides. Yes, I'll share the slides. Yes,
Yes, so I
and
can maybe
and
share with the teacher.
and actually, our gracious MC has a lot of resources. I'm gonna put you on on spot, Asri. Yeah, I when they were in the United States about a month or two ago. I shared a whole lot of resources with them. So hopefully, they are able to share some of those resources back. But yes, I will share this slide with you. But it's really brief. This one is really brief. They have a more detailed slide on universal design for learning.
Yeah, so it's okay, but at least something,
Yes, I
because
will share. I will share it
we
to
need a lot.
Asri, and then she can share it out.
Yeah, we need a lot of resources. Thank you and
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you,
thank
Ibu
you.
Maria. Okay, so the committee members will share the slides. There are also some materials that we have received from our training in the United States, and we will share that as well through the special education committee. Okay, there's another question from Ibu Irma. Ibu Irma raised her hand. Go ahead, Ibu Irma.
Okay, thank you, Miss Asri. Good morning, Miss Varunga. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Actually, I work for an inclusion in Lampung.
I think there's some noise in the background. I can't hear you.
Okay. I work for inclusion school in Metro Lampung, and I have about 17 special needs students. Well, actually, I would like about your opinion about the using of language. In Indonesia, we use Bahasa as our mother tongue, right? So in our curriculum, most of all, we use Bahasa Indonesia as our first language. But then some of our students with autism, especially for those who has difficulty in verbal, they don't want to speak in bahasa. Sometimes they respond if we speak English with them. What do you think? Do we need to continue our strategy to speak with them in English, or try to teach them how to use bahasa Indonesia? Especially, yes, we are live in Indonesia. However, they will continue their study in Indonesia, and you will use bahasa Indonesia most of the time. What do you think, Ms. Varunga? Thank you.
That is a very interesting question, because I've had, the reason I think I'm saying it's interesting is because I've had similar stories even back in, I'm originally from Kenya, where students on the spectrum who have autism, they do not and they don't communicate in the local language, but then they pick up English and they're more fluent in the English. Which and this is my personal opinion, if they're actually able to talk, that's a big deal, because students with autism, communication is a major barrier, and a lot of them actually do not have verbal language. And so if they have the opportunity to express themselves and they have an inclination to do that in any language, I would take it than no language at all. But I would encourage for you to keep on, um, teaching them and supporting their local language because of course that's a language of communication. But if they are communicating at all in whatever language, keep supporting that communication, especially if they have people like you, teachers who are actually able to communicate with them in English. So that would be, and it is my personal opinion, just based on the fact that students with autism, communication is one of the big problems for them.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for the question, Ibu Irma. Okay, is there any other questions? Oh, Ibu Dian raise her hand. Go ahead, Ibu Dian.
Good morning, Dr. Werunga, Ms. Astrid.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for the opportunity. Actually, I've written the question on Google Form, but now I have an opportunity to say that to you directly. So, Dr. When teaching blind children to sing English song, they are confused to express themselves because they don't know the meaning of the lyrics. And in my opinion, the method of learning English with singing is suitable for children. And again, I've been thinking if a foreigner trainer would be great because they are my student with blind. They are very enthusiastic and appreciative if they learn a foreign language with a foreigner directly. My question is, do you think it would be good to have a workshop with native speakers to train children with blind, and they have a skill to singing good, but they have also want to learn English, because in my school there's no English teacher.
Yeah, so
That's it.
you kept cutting off. So yeah, I did not clearly understand the question, but I'll try and answer it as best as I can. So the question, if I can rephrase, was is it advisable to have the students learn English? Because when you teach them English through songs, they are confused. Was that the question, Asri?
I think it's also a question of how about having a native speaker? Because there's no specific English teacher in this particular school. So student is not fully learning English. They are learning English through songs and they are confused with some of the lyrics and its meaning. How about having a native speaker involved? Would that be something useful?
So yeah, like a native speaker, meaning a native speaker of the local language, right?
I think native speaker of English.
Well, I don't think that is really would be the solution. The solution would be having somebody that, somebody just like her who asked the question in English, who understand English, and having them actually teach English instead of getting like an English native speaker to teach English. And I understand why the students are confused with the songs, because the songs don't make any sense to them if they don't understand the language. So I think introducing English as a second language to them, if that is the goal of the school or the community, would really be important to introduce that English as a second language first, and then bring in the songs as the ways to support that what they're learning, when they're learning English. So something like songs and music become a way to support what they're learning in English.
Yes. Okay. So having a communication with the leadership in the school first on
Yes.
whether English should be prioritized or not, embedding it within the curriculum, and then thinking about them teaching English, so that the songs is not just an added activity, it's actually part of the curriculum and part of
and it's reinforcing what
course.
they're learning.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. I hope that is clear, Ibu Dian. I think Ibu Dian was cut off Zoom and just re-enter, but if there's something else that you want to ask, you can write in the chat room as well, Ibu Dian. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope she was able to get the answer before she cut off.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question from Bapak Agus. Go ahead, Pak Agus.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Waruga, or how do I call you? I'm sorry.
You're close. It's Werunga.
Oh, Warunga. Okay.
Yes.
So here's my question is actually what happened in the US is like I would like to ask how much does the government support teachers with the expertise in teaching special children? Do they study specially, or do most teachers in US receive special education so that all teachers in the US have knowledge about how to teach special children? Not like Indonesia. In Indonesia, not much teachers that have education about special children, especially in a public school. So we only teach being how to be a teacher, but not how to treat a special children. So in case about that, do you have any tip for us, like for the teacher that don't have any education about the how to treat the special children, like kind like that? Do you have tips for us? Tips for us, for the teachers that don't have any special background education about how to teach the special children. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good question. So in the United States, the government does support support students with special needs, and it's through training. I personally have been a special education teacher my whole career. I taught special education for about 20 years in the classroom before becoming a college professor. So yes, special education as part of education is fully supported by the government. We have a lot of grants to train teachers with special education to become special educators. But that part about teachers, general education teachers that don't have expertise in special education, that is still the same in the United States. Majority of the general education teachers in the past, at least historically, did not have the knowledge on how to support students with special needs. And that is changing now, and through teacher preparation programs. Like, for example, at my university, we train, when the teachers leave the college, they have two teaching licenses. One license is special education, and the other license is elementary education. So they have both. So we are changing, and we have more programs like that. And so hopefully in the future that we'll have every teacher that works with in the public schools has knowledge on how to support students with special needs. We are not there yet. It's still a problem here in the United States. But having said that, to your other part of the question, the best way to support teachers like you, are you a special education teacher?
No, I'm not, but I'm joining like a special training for special students. I have joined the special training, but not all of the teacher can join this special training.
Why can they join?
We have kind of tests first before, so we can join the special training for special students.
Okay, and so not all teachers are able to do that, right?
Yep, that's right.
So the best way I think on from my perspective will be professional development that is actually mandated across the board. And so having special, like whoever trains the teachers, because you do have special education teachers, teachers who are trained, right? So professional development can be from this group of teachers or the special education directors within those schools to go and provide this training to the teachers. And it's made mandatory for the teachers to take it. If you're going to be, if you're a teacher that's working with students, you need at least like 1 day or 2 day of professional development on working or supporting or even just understanding the disability. And you can start with one part of the professional development could be on understanding, who is a child with a special need? How do they look like? What are the characteristics? And that becomes one part which is required for all teachers to take. And then after that, you go to the next step of professional development, and it could be something to do with strategies for supporting maybe students with autism or strategies for supporting students with a specific reading disability. But I think especially in with the view that not all of them can afford to take that training, taking the training to them would be the most viable way or the most feasible way, and it could come from the government or the school administration in mandating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably, I mean, like the cheapest way, if I can say so, actually teachers can like study by themselves, right? By maybe reading the situation, reading the article and everything before, if they don't afford to join the special training.
So, I mean, studying by themselves, I guess they could do that, but then if it's left optional, then some teachers will study and some will not. Some of them don't even care about doing that. I mean, that is the case even in the United States, like, they don't want to do that, and they really don't want to accommodate students with disabilities. They're like, they are a nuisance to them. They're taking their time, right? So if it's left to the teachers to do, I'm sure some of them would not even bother to do it. But if it's mandated, then then every teacher has to take the training, right?
Yep.
So
thank you.
have it as an obligation, either by the top management of the school or by the government. I think, and there's some things that Dr. Warunga mentioned, such as it's possible to not have all teachers come to the national training, but have some representatives of each school to go to the national training, and then they teach their colleagues.
Yeah, and they can bring it back to them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. There's also a question about the tips. I think it was UDL can be one of the tips for teachers in
yeah.
The universal
actually, that is actually a major one. Thanks, Asri, for mentioning that. Universal design for learning is not just for special education teachers. It's really like helping the teachers, take a totally different approach to teaching, where they don't blame students for not learning, but looking at themselves and saying, what can I do differently so that I can support the students, all my students, not just the smart ones or the ones that are really bright or doing well, but all of them. And as I said in my introduction, setting high standards for them, regardless of a disability. Just, starting with the goal. This is where I want them to be. And then going back and looking at the ones with the disabilities. How can I help them achieve this goal? And that's where scaffolding comes in, and accommodations and modifications for those students, so you can help them reach that goal.
Okay, thank you so much for the wonderful question, Bapak Agus and Dr. Robay, for the answer.
Thank you so much.
There's one question here. Ibu Aziza raised her hand. Go ahead, Ibu Aziza. Ibu Aziza is from a public school in West Jakarta. Go ahead, Ibu.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
This is Hasa Asri and Mr. Swalunga. Hi, ma'am. Hello. I'm Aziza. I'm from the regular school, SMA in Jakarta. I think this seminar is very great for me, because I'm the teachers who do not have special education to teach the special learners Yeah, the same to Mr. Agus, that Mr. Agus gave the questions. No, this is the challenge for us. In a regular schools, we have a special students. But I would like to ask you about the strategy, how the teachers have a strategy to make them achieve their learning, teaching English, especially. And also I will give or I will share this experience to other teachers, because we are not have a special training or special education. I'm sorry, I will start first. Education or these students, and I have asked to the parents of the students. Actually, the students suggested in a special school or SLB in Jakarta. The name is SLB, but their parents that want to go, or they want register the students or in this school. They want have their children in the regular school, but unfortunately we are not have a skill for this. This is the challenge of the teachers. This is also what is burden for me and other teachers, how to make achievement, learning achievement. And we have only what is apa kalau di bahasa Indonesia learning achievement, ya, this general learning achievement. The teachers who have a special students like this should create how to make, but it's not all the teachers have perform or have a knowing about this, how to maintain or to handle these students. So other teacher, okay, I will let them to give a picture and a coloring as elementary school, or and then others just imitate the writing. And how is the best strategy for these students in our regular school like us? Okay, thank you, Miss Rio.
Yeah. That's a good question, but I don't have just one answer. I don't have just one answer for it. As I was talking, like I alluded to a part, like when you ask about the best strategy, when you come to students with special needs, then their needs are really individualized. They are like one thing that you're going to work with one student does not necessarily mean to work with another student. So it really depends on the student's needs and what they're struggling with, right? If a child is struggling with reading, then your strategies will be around reading, right? Supporting their reading so they can become better readers or develop reading skills. If they are struggling with math, that's a different thing. If their issue is behavior, that is also different strategies, approaches. But there's one thing, and I don't know how feasible that is in Indonesia. It's a different approach that I discussed with the group that came to the United States, and it's called co-teaching. And so I know that the first person that asked question, she said, you have separate schools, right? You have schools for children with special needs, and then you have regular schools. But if there was a way that you can come together where you have the special education teacher working with you as the general education teacher, then that could be, it has a potential for really helping the students and supporting them. And so
that is our problem. There is no pseudo teachers in our school also, and the government let us to know about how to handle this student is our problems now. But I would like to, and I have tried to one strategy. You say that reading, maybe focus on the reading. These children's there is no letters S A T she didn't know about the letters also, and then we are not have what is the shadow teacher, and how to what is pendampingan apa Bu?
There's no training ya Ibu ya.
Training ya,
There's
yeah.
no training and
Also
there's no
the
guidance for the
guidance for
teachers.
yeah.
Okay.
The government is also give us and create how to handle, but we have a challenge. These students should come out from the school in 3 years, but there is no improvement. This is our challenge for this.
I know. Yeah, and that's a common challenge, unfortunately, Aziza. It's not unique to Indonesia. It is a challenge that is for so many countries that are not United States, right? There's so many countries that are not United States or, Europe or Australia that have, established systems to support students. It is a challenge across. But if Indonesia, if the government is advocating for inclusion, then that should follow with supporting the teachers to have inclusion. And so that goes back to a point that I made about professional development. That will be the only way to go. It will take bringing in experts, right? Bringing in experts to train teachers. It could start with just like the group that came to the United States and them having the content being, having trained and them starting to train another group of the teachers. And then that group that is trained gets to train others. So that is what we call capacity building. That's the only way that is going to happen. And obviously, the government taking leadership in this, in supporting and in emphasizing the importance of doing that would really be critical in doing that. Because as you said, you have the students, right, in the schools, and there is support. Like even in my country of origin in Kenya, there's a push for inclusive education, and the teachers are in the same problem like you have. They don't have the training and the expertise, and the universities that actually train the teachers that train for special education, they go to special schools. And so we have the public schools, the regular schools, they do not have any support. And so there is a push for that, to actually equipping the teachers so that they are able to support the students. But another thing that can happen is studying with the universities, the colleges where you guys go and train, and having a course, a standalone special education course for all teachers, meaning every teacher that is coming from the university must have at least one class or two classes in special needs students. And so if the government can take that approach and to make sure that universities, all universities that train teachers have courses in special education, then every teacher would at least live with something, right? With something, so when they go, they don't have zero skills. They have at least something to go with. But that is a bigger, far-fetched kind of solution that the government has to take lead on.
So there are some solutions to professional development. Yeah, Ibu Robai. Some of the questions that Ibu Aziza was also mentioning is about the learning outcome. In general, teachers have learning goals, learning outcome that is already determined by the government. So there's this pressure of helping students to achieve that, and here comes the student with disability enter, and of course there's the pressure. It turns out that the student with disability have a skill lower than their peers, and then you mentioned about goals, right? So
Yeah,
is thinking about UDL meaning that we adjust the learning outcome, or is it something that we can do to advocate for the government to have different learning outcomes, or what is the
So yeah, actually, as you were talking about that, I was just thinking that that was my my next question. So in the US, we have the, you know, like the general learning outcomes, and then we have what we call alternative standards. We have the general standards for every student, and then we have alternative standards for students with disabilities. And these are students that we know cannot achieve those learning standards. And for them, we are really focused on assessing them in a different way, providing instruction in a different way, and assessing them in a different way. And for such students, in many ways, we are not looking for them potentially maybe going to the university, but equipping them with life skills and vocational skills and preparing them to be productive citizens despite their disability, knowing that they're probably not going to be doctors or teachers or professors, but they can learn a skill, right? They can learn a skill that would actually make them productive citizens when they grow, when they become adults. And so what we have is alternative studies, and you can actually do that. And if they don't, Indonesia doesn't have that, then it would be a way to advocate to have like separate learning outcomes, which we call them alternative standards for those kinds of students with more severe disabilities. So the goals that I was talking about is more for students who actually can achieve. They can achieve those standards. They just need a little support and push from the teachers. But we know that some students with disabilities cannot actually achieve those standards. And those are the ones that we have what we call alternative standards.
Yeah, for to have or to reach the goal, so we have a time for this. The Indonesia, or especially in my school, we have only 2 hours in English teaching and learning. Yeah, 2 hours is 2 hours is not full 2 hours. Is 45 plus multiply 2, and we have to handle all the students, 36 students in a one class, and we have the inclusive students in class. There is 2, there is 1 students. That is our problem also, to handle too serious to make handle these students seriously. So I think I'm not satisfying for this semester also to handle this class, because only have coloring, have imitate what the teachers writing, only that's the strategy, only basic strategy. But we are in a senior high school, right?
Yeah. Are you a high school teacher?
Yeah, high school teacher.
Okay. And so do you have and maybe this is a silly question, maybe I know the answer, but do you have like assistants in the classroom? You say you have 45 students?
36 per class.
36.
36.
36, and you don't have any one teacher?
One teacher. Okay. One teacher.
So yeah, I mean, yeah.
One teacher for one lesson.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the luxury we have for the United States. If you have a lot of students with disabilities in the classroom, then you have what we call a teacher aide or a teacher assistant. You have another help in the classroom. And so when you have such a person, then they do get to help your students who are struggling. And so you can focus your time on with the other students, or they can handle the bigger class, and then you can focus more time with the students, which is something that I know is a luxury for the United States. A lot of countries do not have that. I've actually seen places like in my former country where teachers have up to 90 students for one teacher. So it becomes really challenging, and I understand that. I understand the challenge. So I don't know if that could be even a solution if there's no way that those teachers, like an extra person, could be employed into the classroom to be paid. So I don't know. That would not be a good answer for you. But I'm thinking more of a solution is equipping yourself with tools. But even with that, I don't know that it will be helpful. I know that it can be really tiring and you can burn out if you're the only one person and trying to meet the needs of a very diverse classroom. So for that, apologies. I do not have quite a good answer for you.
Okay.
The answers that I have for you, they'll be more geared. They'll be more like it's
Maybe
a
I have
luxury that
more
we have.
learn, yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, like a smaller class would be nice. I know that's not feasible for you guys, Having another extra body in the classroom would be really nice, but I know that might not be the solution for you.
Sometimes I have a confusing when she get a tantrum.
Yeah.
So I spend my hours to handle these students.
Yeah, so there's something called function behavior assessment, which is another you can train yourself on that and be equipped on how to handle behavior and like dealing with students' behavior. It's another training that you can add to on in your repertoire, but if you have one or two or three
I have to
who are throwing tantrums, then and
I
just
have
one
to
person,
improve
that
my
becomes
skill
hard.
by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's
No,
one.
but definitely.
I think we have two more minutes for question and answer. I think Ibu Dian raised her hand just now, so we
There's
might
Maria
allow for this one
also.
last question. Is that okay, Ibu Werunga?
I think there's a Maria there, right? Yeah. But
Yeah, there
we'll
are
go.
two. One question.
Yeah.
Perhaps Ibu Maria can write the question in chat room. But because Dr. Robai has another engagement after this, so I think we can just allow one question. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'll take them. That's okay.
Oh, okay, it is
if,
okay.
If we can keep them short, I'll take them.
Okay, so perhaps, yeah. So perhaps Ibu Angelina, who has already been put in the pen here. Is Ibu Angelina? Ibu Angelina, do you have a question? Or no?
Yeah, she's not
Actually,
hearing us.
Me.
Angelina? Okay,
Asri?
there you are. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
Hello.
Go ahead, Ibu. Ibu Dian and Bu Maria perhaps can write
Hi.
down the question in the chat.
Okay. Hello.
Hi,
Good morning,
Angelia.
Mrs. Warunga. Firstly, hi, Mrs. Warunga. Firstly, I want to say thank you. I write this. Firstly, I want to say thank you for the webinar today. And I'm sorry, actually, my English is very poor, but I'm really excited to ask because this is the only opportunity we can talk and sharing together. So my question is it possible in the future to hold simple English language competition for children with special needs? Because all teachers believe that in every special school, there must be students who have the ability to learn English, which we must explore and develop this potential. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the
Okay. Was the question about is it possible to have an English language competition?
Apakah pertanyaannya memungkinkan atau tidak membuat kompetisi bahasa Inggris begitu ya, Ibu Angelina?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. English language competition, that's correct.
I don't understand why there should be a competition for language. I don't understand.
Is it for untuk agar kegiatannya lebih interaktif atau bagaimana, Bu?
Yes, for in Indonesia for the old school maybe so.
Oh, I see. So it can be a
yes.
national competition to encourage students with disability to learn English and to speak English in a national
That could be good. I mean, yeah, in the US we have a lot of like competitions. It's like oral speaking competitions for grade school students from elementary, middle school, and high, and they start with like within the school, and then they compete within the school themselves, and then from the school competition, they select students to represent the school when they go against other schools within the local, and then after that they move to the district and then to the state and then maybe the national. So that would be really great if the focus is to help the students with disabilities to develop their speaking of the English language, then that would be really a good way, an avenue for them to explore that, and it would help to actually showcase and focus on them to show that they can also learn just like anybody else. So yeah, that would be a really good one.
Yeah,
I don't know how you go about actually encouraging that. Maybe Asri and the team can brainstorm on how to make this a reality in Indonesia. So
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Ibu Angelia. I'm so sorry the committee member has just contacted me, letting me know that there are other sessions after this, so we have to wrap this up, unfortunately.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you again express my gratitude to Dr. Robai Werunga for joining us all the way from Massachusetts. Thank you for all of the wonderful questions as well. Thank you, Dr. Robai.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm so glad, and I'm happy to see you again. I see some other familiar names, but I didn't see I see Kevin is on here.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I saw somebody else, a familiar name, but yeah. Hello, everybody that knows me, that we met before. I'm glad to see you here virtually again. And thanks again. This was a great opportunity to talk to you guys. And if you have any more questions, just pass them to Asri. And I see Farid is on here too. Just pass the questions and then I will respond. Hi, Kevin.
Definitely. Okay, please do not hesitate to write down your question in the chat box. I will relay that to Dr. Werunga. Thank you. I will give the floor back to Ibu Maria.
Okay, wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Werunga.
All right. Am I done? Oh,
Thank you, Dr. Murunga, and also thank you, Bu Asri, for taking us to this really interesting topic. Like I said, we don't have luxury just like in the United States. So the teacher over here, especially the teacher for special need children, they just like have to fend off by themselves. So because the government still seem like really don't have a program for all the teacher yet. So just few of them that lucky enough to get some special needs education or training. Okay, the next is we still have three more guest speaker. It's Miss Honey. Hold on, let me see. Miss Honey, and then Mr. Kevin, and then also Mr. Faris. We would like to start with Mr. Kevin, and then follow with Mr. Faris, and then Miss Honey will be the last one, but it's not the least. Okay, I would like to read a little bit bio from Mr. Kevin. Let me see. Mr. Kevin is from Philippines. His full name is Kevin Neil Sumawang Daila. Is it correct pronunciation? Okay, thank you. Mr. Kevin has a degree and a Master of Art in Education with major in reading from Athena de Manila University. Is it correct? And then also Bachelor of Art in Secondary Education, majoring in Literature from Philippine Normal University. Right now, Mr. Kevin's teaching at high school in Quezon City in Philippines. He has so many experience in regard of the teaching, And without further ado, because I think we only have 10 minutes from each speaker. So we would like to start with Mr. Kevin. Okay, Mr. Kevin, time is yours.
Your most.
Kevin, we cannot hear your voice.
Hello? Am I audible now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So it's already 12 noon here in the Philippines. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you see my slides now? My PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
That's great. Thank you, Maria. Again, thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the organizers of this webinar for giving me the opportunity to give an overview of ELWD. What is ELWD? It's English Learners or English Learning with Disabilities in the Philippines. So how do we view it in the Philippines and how do we handle it here in the Philippines? So first, let us just have some interaction. You just write in the chat box based on what you know or based on your guess. Is English an official language in the Philippines? What do you think? It may be your guess, your plain guess, or it may be on what you know based on what you've read about the Philippines. So what do you think? Is English an official language in the Philippines? Just write it there in the chat box, true or false. Another one is this. So we have here, are there special education teachers or SPED teachers in the Philippines? The same thing to do. You're just going to base it on what you know or just your plain guess. Do you think, is it true or false? Okay, going back to the first question, the answer here is true. So English is one of the official languages in the Philippines. And for the second question, the answer here is true also. There are special education teachers or SPED teachers in the Philippines. Now, in the 10 minutes, we should have these three essential or basic understanding. Number one, who are the English learners in the Philippines, who are classified as the disabled learners in the Philippines, and in effect or consequently, who are the English learners with disabilities or ELWD in the Philippines. To understand the English learners in the Philippines, let me give you an overview of our curriculum. So if there are bureaus or ministries of education in different countries in the Philippines, there is what we call our Department of Education. And the curriculum that we have is the basic education following the K to 12 format or the K to 12 structure. K stands for kindergarten, and then 12 is grade 12. So as you see on screen, there is 1 to 2 years for kindergarten. For the primary years, there should be 6 years. So that's from grade 1 to 6. In junior high school, there are 4 years, grade 7 to grade 10. And then there is senior high school, grades 11 to 12. So this is the structure of our curriculum. Now, the question is, who are regarded as English learners in the Philippines? Well, the English learners are the learners from grades 1 to 12. Okay, so that's just a typographical error. That's supposed to be grade 12. Again, grade 1 to grade 12 are classified as English learners, meaning they are required to study English. Why is that so? You may be wondering why start from an early age and until the last part of the basic education they are compelled to learn English. It's because, going back to the first question I posed a while ago, English is one of the official languages here in our country. So it's according to the constitution. There are our mother tongue, the Filipino language, and English language. So these languages are our official languages. We use them in documents, we use them in official transactions and interactions. So that's an important reason why our students are required to study English from grades 1 to 12. Also, while there are many countries who are studying English as foreign language, here in the Philippines, we take it, we study English as a second language, thus ESL. Now, you may be curious about what do our grade 1 students study in English. So there are different domains starting from oral language, phonological awareness, grammar, a little bit of grammar, vocabulary, listening comprehension, not yet more of reading comprehension, but we are starting with the listening comprehension. Also, there is a domain of attitude towards language, literacy, and literature. And finally, study strategies. Now, English is introduced in the third quarter in the grade 1 curriculum. There are expected milestones. So at grade 3 or by grade 3, students are expected to have oral and written language skills. And they are also expected to use English language for basic communication. By grade 6, they should be able to make meaning of everything they read, of everything they get in the English language, and they should be able to use the language communicatively. Also, they are expected to follow the grammar of the language. By grade 10, our students are accessing, interpreting, and evaluating information in the English language. And there is also an integration between learning areas, texts, and discourses. So that means all those subjects which are taught in English are of that gives us the importance of English, because the different subjects that we have in the curriculum are taught in English. And finally, for grade 12, so this is the end of the K to 12 or the basic education curriculum. Of course, English is used for communication, whether it's oral language, written language that we are talking about. We also need to understand, or our grade 12 students need to understand and grasp different literary genres. Also, they should be able to integrate their learning of the language to different contexts, specifically for personal and professional purposes. In fact, as mentioned a while ago, I am a senior high school teacher of English here in the Philippines. So my subject, or the subject that I'm teaching, is called English for academic and professional purposes. So that is just one implication of this. Now, the second essential understanding that we should have is the disabled learners in the Philippines. So we have the notion of PWD, or people with disabilities in the Philippines, and this is the definition given by our Department of Health. It's based on the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So the term PWD is very encompassing. It includes not only physical impairments or disabilities, but also mental, intellectual, sensory impairments. And these disabilities are hindering them to fully and effectively participate in society on an equal basis with others. Now, one important thing that I've learned from our exchange program in the US is the classification of the disabilities according to which one are the most obvious or apparent. These are the visible disabilities. Like, for instance, physical disabilities are very much visible. So you know that a person is handicapped by merely looking at him or her. But we should also understand that there are what we call the invisible disabilities. So these are more of the learning disabilities, like specific reading disabilities, or maybe mental disabilities, like the ones mentioned a while ago by Dr. Warunga. So we should understand that not all disabilities are visible. There are those which need more profound or extensive assessment for them to be known. And the good thing about the Philippines, I'm glad to share that there is this concept and there is system of inclusive education here in the Philippines. So basically, you know that there is inclusive education because the students which are PWD, or the English learners with disabilities, or ELWDs, are joined in the same classroom. So they are joined with those so-called regular students. They receive the same curriculum and they are expected. There is that high expectation, as mentioned by Dr. Warunga a while ago. They're expected to achieve the same learning goals. So that's high expectation, and that is following the universal design for learning. Okay, so that means they receive the K to 12 curriculum, and they are also regarded as ESL, or English as Second Language learners. Now, let's combine the two concepts. So we have the learners with disabilities and the English learners. We now have the English learners with disabilities, or ELWD, in the Philippines. There are some schools, but the problem is not all schools have special education department. And the special education department is comprised of the special education teachers who had their bachelor's degree, master's degree, and even their higher education grounded on special education. So that is really their expertise, SPED. What do? They work closely with all the subject teachers in the school. Also, very importantly, they work around the individual education plan, or the IEP of the learners. As mentioned by Dr. Rabay, the assistance, or the design that we give for our learners should be individualized. And finally, based on their individual education plan, they are given accommodations and modifications. So probably the easiest way to understand accommodation is assistance. How do we assist our students? How do we help our students with special needs or with disabilities? Now, I'd like to end by posing these challenges or gaps. I understand that in the Philippines, the expert diagnosis, which are relatively costly, so that's the base cost would be 5,000 pesos for the initial diagnosis or initial conference with the expert, with the educational psychologist and others. It's not fully supported by the government, so there is a lack of financial support. Also, not all schools have special education department. Unfortunately, in the school where I am teaching, there is no special education department. But in the school where my wife is teaching, there is a special education department. Also, the concept and design of IEP, or the individual education plan, is not familiar to all stakeholders. I would have to admit that before attending the exchange program, I also have no concept of this so-called individual education program. And finally, I've just heard this from Dr. Robay a while ago. What if there are severely disabled students, so they may not really be able to meet the standards, the general standards prescribed by the Department of Education? So in our country, I would like to assume that the special education teachers would have alternative learning standards, but in the largest in the great scheme of things, in the Department of Education, there is really no formal set of alternative learning standards. So that is a problem. And yeah, I'd like to end my presentation by inviting everyone to be more aware of inclusive education and all its nitty-gritty, all the details relevant to this, and we should accept the movements towards inclusive education so that eventually we can act and accommodate all our students, whether they are the regular ones or those who have no disabilities or the ones which have disabilities. They are all included. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. It's kind of really interesting speech, and I know you are special in a way because you are dealing with some special needs student, and I know it's not the same thing with a regular student. I would like to maybe all of three of you maybe speak in orders rather than ask question now. So I just ask all the participants maybe to prepare the question. So maybe after the three of them finish with their speech, then we can start asking question. Maybe for Miss Honey, Mr. Kevin, or maybe Mr. Faris. So the second one, we can start with Mr. Faris from Malaysia. Mr. Faris is graduated. He is graduated from Technology University Malay from Johor with Master of Education in Technical and Vocational, especially for special need children. Also received diploma in education from Maktab Perguruan Temanggung Ibrahim Johor. Is it correct? My pronunciation? Okay. Uh, he speaks fluent Malay, proficient in English, and understand basic French, Thai, and Arabic language. So, and he also have several more diploma, and he's a specialized in culinary. So I guess probably he's also a good cook. Okay, maybe without further ado, because I know his time is limited. Uh, Mr. Faris, the time is yours.
Okay. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. Okay, thank you, Miss Maria, and to all organizer. And I'm happy to see all my alumni spell in the US, like Mr. Kevin, Asri, Hani, we call it Nina, and a few of them. Okay, actually, I'm not the right person to speak in the English language because I'm specialist in a vocational subject, focusing to like culinary arts and home science, home domestic science subject. I'd like to share a few, I'll call it English subject, how we are conduct in Malaysia. Actually, for the special education student, sorry, I'd like to introduce what kind of my school all about. Actually, my school is like is a vocational secondary school for the special needs student. It's started from upper secondary. It start from, we call here, we are Form 4 to Form 5 is around age 16, 15 or 16 till to 19 years old. Okay. Okay, actually, in Malaysia, we are conduct English actually only for the communication because their syllabus developed based on how we teach special education student to communicate after the school or for the social or society. Actually, the level of the English here, normally we are like to align with the self, like a common European framework of reference is proficiency level revised A2 to below to B1 actually. So there are like no very high estimate or expectation to them to more or going to advance. But somehow, yes, we have a very clever student, a very proficient student in the English language. So normally we are focusing actually in the subject English subject. We are looking for like how they are introduce themselves, or someone else to others, or sometimes listen or to respond to speak English on the variety of the social topics, and then somehow to demonstrate the understanding of English language for specific instruction or information. But actually, in my class, actually, I emphasize English language into my culinary subject because we are dealing with a few languages in the culinary subject. For example, of course, the English, and then the second one is the French language, because we are using the English French language, French term in the cooking, especially in the cooking terminology. Okay, for example, like mise en place is mean like pre-preparation, and then sometimes the English terminology, cooking terminology, like bake, okay, frying, because we try to explain differentiation of the frying cooking method, like a dry method or wet cooking method. So when we are talking in a bahasa, because it's like this same meaning to all certain culinary terminology in for example in English or in France. Okay, so back to our topic today. I'm sorry because I'm not prepared any slide to you to watch or to hear it, but I just convey like based on my experience, because we have actually I just have like 10 minutes, right? Okay, based on back to our topic, like empowering minds through the English language for the disabled student. For my opinions, my like based on my experience, for example, we like how we are assessing the resources. Okay, how we are assessing the resources. For example, because we are dealing with like a different, vary of the disability, right? For example, the learning disability, because in learning disability, we have the autistic student, dyslexia, Down syndrome, and so on. Then we also how to adaptive the teaching methods. Okay, because right now we are like all the world more emphasized to like using the technology itself, because we know technology is come to like using the internet, computer, or high-end equipment or tools that to assist us during the teaching and learning session. And also in Malaysia, we are right now for the academic subject like bahasa, English, mathematics, science or social science, we are using individualized learning plan. It's like rancangan harian for each student, because we can differentiate what the student needs, okay, what the student, because we can modify, tailor to their needs actually. And then okay, somehow like, yeah, for the teachers, of course we need a teachers training continuously. Either we are reskilling or upskilling our our actually in English methods, okay, to to assist our student based on our expertise or based on our student itself. Okay, for example, I can share one of my project, innovation project, that it's like because my student they have the learning disability, and then in term of the cooking class, okay, we found, or I found that they are lack of focusing, and then sometimes they are becoming tantrum because they can focus all the instruction come from teachers or based on their we call it their worksheet. Okay, so what I did, or my team did, like we developed the teaching aid that we call a SIBO access, that that we try to simplify the instruction based on the simple word or simple instruction, and come out with the interactive graphic material. So in terms of they not only read, but they can see through the picture, so they can follow step by step of the cooking instruction. So that's how that we try to cope their needs or their their disability. But from my opinion, actually we have to focus their ability, not their disability. Then we can enhance their ability and try to close the gap, their disability in the class or even in the society. So that how I do my part as a teacher and as a vocational teacher. So to bring all together, even of the materials, teaching materials, or even actually in my school we implement like Dr. Rungai suggests right now, just now, I call it dual teaching or parent teaching. So it's good for us in term not like we can control the classroom environment, even a student behavior, in terms of how to try get along with us during the teachings and learning disability. So I think this my sharing session to all of Indonesian special needs teachers, to like we are going to gather all the Mr. Kevin to share their Philippine syllabus or curriculum in English. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Faris, for your speech. I know, I guess for the special needs student, not only have to learn about English, but also vocational training also important, because I know they can help them in the future, because I know in the
Yes,
future
right.
the competition is gonna
This is the
really
best
really
thing.
hard.
The best part. Yeah.
Because I think we need to equip them with something that they can compete with some new technology. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The last but not least is from Miss Honey. Miss Honey, she is a special needs educational teacher, but not only that, she is actively involved in several organizations which related to education, especially for the special needs children. She is also in charge in the Special Olympic in Indonesia. She's a director intellectual disability. She's also secretary for IGMF, founder Gegap Indonesia, She also wrote several books and still many experience that she has. And she's special, and at the same time, I'm so lucky she's also my friend. Miss Honey, time is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Maria. Thank you very much. Okay, I wanna say thank you for the IGPKHI and US Embassy who help us to provide this webinar, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for my friend Kevin and Farid who already joined with us and sharing the great experience. Now I want to share what I do in my school. That I am not English teacher. I mean, not graduate from the university who give opportunity to become English teacher, but I am a special teacher at special school who teach English. So here is I wanted to share you everybody about what I learned and what I provide to help my student with special need at my special school to learn about English. Okay, I choose this title. English is fun. Why? Because I hope after this presentation, everybody here, all the participants will have an understanding and skills how that student with disability, or we call that special needs student, they can learn English. So English for special needs student is possible and it should be fun. That like Philippines has condition, they have we have the same condition in Indonesia too. English learned in with special in Indonesia. They have specificity such as visual impairment that we call tunanetra. According of that, they have problem with visual impairment we call low vision or totally blind, and some of them have hearing problem, intellectual disability, physically, autism, and much of them at regular school at inclusive education, we have students with special learning difficulties like dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyslexia, and etc. And as we know, Indonesia has more than 800 languages. So that is the first mother tongue we learn when we are born, okay? So every student in Indonesia, in every district, in every area, in every island, they learn their mother language. And then we have to learn about our unified language, Indonesia. We call Bahasa Indonesia. That's the second language we learn. And we are using that Indonesian language or Bahasa in our educational formal system. So that fourth is special method and media are needed to support to learn process for students with special needs. So not all the students with special needs can follow what the teacher method using in their class or the same media for all students. Some of them need the differences. And then the student with special needs attends in special school, inclusive education school, some of them in community learning activity center institution, and some of them have homeschooling. This is where they are all scattered. So here is what me and other teacher and special school, especially in SLB Negeri 11 Jakarta doing. Our principle to teach and learning at SLB first is according to the needs and characteristics of the student. All the student is different, they are unique, so we give them the assessment. This assessment will be the foundation to the teacher to make some program for them. And the second one, providing freedom in learning for students according the nature and the times. This is like our father on education, Ki Hajar Dewantara taught us about the philosophy. All the students should be grow and should be have to learn with their nature and to learn according to the times they live. Like now, we are live in the era of 4.0, So every student like to learn in digitally. So the teacher should be modify all the material, all the process according with that. And the third is the process for us when we teach the special needs student for English, it should be functional. They will do that in their activity all the day. They will do that in their activity in daily living. And it should be meaningful. Should be meaningful for them. It means like when you teach them some word like it doesn't mean you just teach them the letter E, A, E, T, something like that. But you teach them, it has meaning. When you say eat, it means you put some food to your mouth and it help your body to be healthy. So if you are hungry, you said eat, something like that. And then it should be contingent. It looks like a unity. One activity, one word, one lesson, it should be contingent with others. So it will be useful for them for every day. And here is some sample that what we are doing in our English class. I hope we can see this together. Okay, let me share stop. We are having fun. You got that big bubble butt. Let it keep my mouth shut. And this is the autism student.
Color is brown, and then color white.
We talk what they like. We talk what they want to talking about it. They're talking about cat. They like cat, so we learn color with cat. Using games for the activity. It should be fun for me as a teacher, and it should be fun for the student too. And this is the sample when we teach English lesson for students with multiple disability. They are using sign language and they have problem with visual problem, they are low vision. I'm using a song that's familiar for them. And this is student with low intellectual. They have difficulties, they cannot write, even to talk in Indonesia. So we make everything happy for them. Yeah, they can say yes, they can say no.
Yay, Jasmine, you are happy? And Safira, you are happy? Yay!
So the most important when we teach English for a student with disability or with special needs, it should be happy. It should be fun for you as a teacher and should be fun for the students. Oops. Okay. And in Indonesia, we have a curriculum that we call independent curriculum. Independent curriculum is talk about freedom to learn for the student and freedom to teach for the teacher. So we have the differentiated learning process in here. One in content, not all students learn the same content in one class, so we can make it differently. And they have different process. Not all the students have the same speech, and they have the same a process, how to learn step by step. The other need more time, something like that. And we have different product. Here is the picture that I show you. The other is using some modification tab. They are using it, and the other still using the manual with paper. So it's okay. They can make it what they want to do, what they like to do, and what they should be enjoyable to do. And this is the other picture that I show you. This is the student in one class. Some of them learn about color. We are using the stick that they can put together and make creativity with that. Some of them only can make a square, and some of them can make heart. Some of them can make a house, a big house, and more difficulties. It depends on their capability to do that. But the most important is they are able and they are happy to do that. And in education, some teacher who has special needs student, they can make IP, individual education program. It depends on the student. It depends on your assessment doing and what is the result of the assessment. Then you can make this program with other teacher, not only you as English teacher, but you can make it with the classroom teacher and the parents too. So every child is special because of us. This is my presentation. I hope it will be help and make some new inspire for you. And again, thank you for the role Rilo and the U.S. Embassy who give us opportunity to go to the Boston and learn about more about how to teach English for special need student. And thank you, Ibu Maria, for the time. I'll give it again to you.
Thank you, Miss Honey, for this beautiful speech. I think I would like audiences to ask a question, maybe by raising their hand, and excuse me, and then you just directly ask to whom you want to ask the question with. So please, if there's any question for the audiences. Okay, I think it's few of them. Maybe we can start with Bu Ibu Nur Hadi atau Bapak Nur Hadi. I'm sorry because I can barely see. Please, Bapak Nur Hadi, with whom you want to direct it your question.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maria. I have two questions, but first of all, especially for the main keynote speaker, Ibu Marunga from United States, we just request that not just, that this webinar is very, very fantastic. We have got some information about how the way to teach English to our special needs students. But we do hope that in the future there is another webinar with specific topic. For example, we have already known that students with special needs is very it depends on disability. For example, in the future, we need to know about strategy and media that have to be used in teaching English. For example, teaching English for visual impairment students, it would be different strategy with teaching English to the hearing impairment students. And we need a specific thing in order to give information or strategy for our teachers that depends on kind of disability in the future. And second question, actually not question, from the presentation of Cikgu, yeah, and Ibu Hani, I agree with them that every plan for our student with special needs, we have to design the main, and the first and the main point is individualized education plan, or we can say negotiated education plan, because the condition of our students with disabilities is different between one with another. So it is a must to design individualized education plan. Thank you, Ibu Maria.
Thank you, Bapak Nur Hadi. Bu Hani, would you like to answer it right now? And then we can move to the next question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
He's the one of the best teacher in Indonesia too, Pak Nur Hadi. I know him. So, Pak Nur Hadi, IGPKHI work together with Rilo and U.S. Embassy and other institutions like the Association of English Teacher in Indonesia. We provide for 5 more seminar, webinar, luring and daring. So you will meet others friend. Maybe you can meet Kevin again and Faris again. And we have many friends from Asia who go with us to US, and then they will share. And the program for the next year, 2024, it is more deeply. This is the first webinar that we provide is introducing about the ELWD. So just keep touch in us. We will work together, and we will work together more with some friends of us. The Rilo has connection with Alabama University, with other university, Ibu Maria. So Kevin will be joined with us again. Faris will be joining us again. They have specifically, and I'm sure that they have more experience about how teach special student in inclusive education. That's one of the most important issue in Indonesia, Ibu Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Buhani, for the explanation. I guess the next one, I see three of them here that raised their hand. Bu Nuning, Mas Agus, dan Bu Ernisa Supia. So I would like maybe give a chance to Bu Nuning. Go ahead. What question you're going to direct it to? Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Nuning Saptarhayu. I am a teacher of SLB Negeri Tasikmalaya and from West Java Special Education Teacher Organization or IGPKHI Jawa Barat. My question is for Mr. Kevin from Philippines. I am very happy to know that English is the official language of Philippines, and I hope someday can be an official language too in Indonesia. I am a teacher for students with disability. I discover the great potential of my student, especially students with visual impairment or visual impairment students. And I want to ask, based on your experience, could you tell me or share the right or good steps in teaching English? Do we have to start with vocabulary or tenses first, or reading, or directly to speaking practice, so the student can achieve the optimal result and be fluent in English? Because my experience in teaching English, I am developing the curriculum, become the functional curriculum. For example, by making project based on students and students' passion and characteristics, and try to actively use English in our daily conversation. And I also have some best practice in making media or modify a method in teaching English, but I am still feel that the result is not optimal. I hope by your experience, explanation or sharing, I can provide guidance or inspiration for us, especially for me in teaching English. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nuning, for that question. Well, because I specialize in reading education, I would have to focus on that as well. In terms of reading, the best thing to do is to focus on the phonemic awareness. So we start with the sounds. We start with the blending of the sounds. So as easy as if you have the word boy, or if you have the word cat, ka, a, t, cat. So we start with the blending and eventually the segmenting of the sounds. And then along with that, we can also start with listening, okay? The receptive macro skills of the language. And of course, speaking and writing will come eventually, or will be developed eventually.
Okay, thank you. I had I have ever made a media. I call it CP, or Sustainable English Audio Vocabulary, and I try to not giving vocabulary just by write it or read it. I make it completely with pronunciation, spelling, and then meaning, and an example sentence. Yes. A sentence as example, and I give it it weekly. I hope. What do you think about it? Because my students is visual impairment students, and they can optimally use their hearing and cannot use their visual.
All right. One thing to remember also is that our approaches should be developmentally appropriate. So if we are talking about early language learners, it's different for the middle school learners, for the high school learners. But in terms of the visually impaired learners, I would have to give a disclaimer that I am not really a special education teacher. I am leaning more towards on being an English teacher or a language teacher. But as mentioned by Hani a while ago, I'd like to reiterate that our English language instruction should be fun, should be meaningful, and should be functional. So these are the key principles. And if we apply these principles, then uh, we will be able to develop optimal English language learning for our students.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nuning.
Noni, can I add this to what Kevin said, and by just asking the question, are your students fluent in their first language? Are they able to read and talk in the first language?
Not fluent yet. Not fluent yet. Actually, I start to teach English in my school just for only 1 year, because I moved from my old school to the new one, and I just I try to excuse me, I just want to explain that in SLW, or special education school, there is no special there is no English teacher here, so I just try to yeah.
So really, especially since they have an issue, they have a disability, it will be really critical to see if they're fluent in their first language, first. And if they are struggling in the first language, then second language acquisition will be really a struggle. And that could be what you're experiencing, because they're not first fluent in the first language. And then you have this other second task of having them acquire a second language, and it becomes a little bit taxing. So if that's an issue, then your approaches, then you'll be looking at remediating that as a student that is struggling with global language acquisition and not just English.
I see.
Yeah. And that could be what you're running into. But as Kevin said, in teaching English, you start with actually phonemic awareness and them study understanding, because obviously you don't use letters of the alphabet like we use in English, and so them understanding the sounds and the symbols that go with that with the English language first will be really critical to them acquiring the and being proficient in the English language.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nuning, and thank you for the answer from Mr. Kevin and also from Dr. Runga. That's for the explanation. Before I continue, I would like to ask the operator how many how much, what time we're gonna finish it? Are we still gonna have a time to maybe even one more question or two? I know because according to rundown, we finished by 12 and I know it's already 12. So can we still have two more at least question? Can we? Okay, I think I'm gonna give a chance maybe for Miss Ernia Sasupia. You can ask question to the three speaker a while ago, and also if you would like to ask to Dr. Varunga while she's still over here. So go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I'm very glad to hear that because this opportunity I meet my inspiring teachers in Indonesia, Mrs. Hani, of course, Mr. Nur Hadi. Okay, now I have a little story that I am a teacher of the student who in high school grade. My background education is special education for the, but now I have responsibility that give principle of our school to learn English. When I teach, I start from what potential that our students have. I do assessment for my student, and majority the results are they are from environment not supposed to use or need English. And of course, the fact is characteristic English in Indonesia's language is different. In English, we speak that what our listen, and Indonesian language speak that what our write or read. So I focus to push reading and writing, use the visual potential of our students. And then the content what I teach, they focus the topic about their vocational program. Because in our school, especially have two vocational program, that's a graphic design and culinary art. And then like SMK or vocational school, the curriculum of SLB or special school is like that, based on a vocational. Every student can choose that they passion there and of course that they want. For example, in design graphics program that very much English vocabulary in their software they use that student need to learn. That also in culinary art that so much English standard they must learn how English language start in kitchen request by industry. Now I focus teach them about that. So my questions, what do you think about maybe my modification for our deaf students? And I want to really know for especially to this student in your country, how English learned for them. Thank you.
Miss Ania Sapia, this question directed to who?
Maybe Mr. Kevin and Cik Gus Faris.
Mr. Faris, okay. Okay, good. Maybe if you can kind of like a little bit brief to answer the question because I know the time is kind of like essential here. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr. Faris, want to answer first or Mr. Kevin? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to answer the question first. Okay. Based on my experience, okay, how do we do to emphasize the English, especially in the vocational subjects? That it's like we need to understand our student first. Is it the level of their knowledge in terms of the English, or they are what are their first language, second language, or third language? Based on my story. Actually, in Malaysia, we are first language is the Bahasa, and then the second is English. But somehow it's English like for the student it's like, yeah, I don't want to anybody speak in English for them. So we what we try to do is it's like, okay, for example, I don't know what the kind of the bahasa in Indonesia used to in the cooking. For example, a cooking term like from in Malaysia we call like menggoreng, is it? Menggoreng we have a kind of menggoreng in English. For example, we have a deep frying, we are shallow frying, we are sauteing, and then we are like we have to explain them into the main language or first language. So for example, I'm like deep frying, okay, deep fat frying. So in a Malay, we call just like goreng minyak banyak. So we need to elaborate more what the physical about the cooking technique, or what the physical about the vocational subject to directly or to compare with the English language. So that we can teach them not only not only one language, but in two. But somehow like I must say why, because in a culinary art we have another language, is a French language. So we just like focusing on the terminology, okay, the terminology, and then I use the English language during the tutorial class. For example, like how we try to we do like a conduct interviewing session, like we call like a play a role activities, student and teachers who's one of the interviewer and one of the will be interviewee. So we try use a simple sentence, a simple words like introduce yourself. Okay, what you can cook, something like that. If you like to apply this job in our company, so what you can do for us, something like that. So it's more like Hani said, like English must be fun teaching. So that's how we try to our best to cope every needs, student needs. So we know what the material, what the teaching approach, what the teaching strategy to give to our student the very best. And then one more thing, actually in Malaysia, actually, especially in the vocational subject, we are doing competency-based learning. That means it's like we have a guideline. Every competency or every step, student need to competent. So if they are not competent in a certain level, we do again and we repeat again. So that's how we try to them competent in a certain area, so that that's how we it's how we are doing in Malaysia right now. Yeah, maybe Kevin can elaborate more on based on their experience, his experience. Thank you. I hope that I answered your question.
Thank you, Faris. Now, to your first question, my response would be the emphasis on what has been said already regarding the strengthening of the foundation, and the foundation of learning a second language or a foreign language is making sure that there is the solid learning first of the first language or the mother tongue. So in your case, it's Bahasa. In my case, it's Tagalog or Filipino. So when our learners really have a good grasp and they can use these languages well, that's the gateway to learning English, which may be in your context a foreign language or in our context a second language. And then to your second question about the modification, well, regarding accommodation and modification, there are a lot of people working around this. So it's not just you, it's not just a single teacher who would be designing the modification or prescribing the modification or the accommodation, but it's a team. So the IEP, the individual education plan, is comprised of the classroom teachers, the special education teachers, probably an educational psychologist, and there is also to some extent involvement of the other stakeholders of the school, and of course the involvement also of the families of the parents. I hope I also answered your question.
Of course, thank us for the answer. That answer can be my inspirations that how I teach English for my dear students. Thank you very much.
Thank you for Ms. Vice and
Bu Maria, you are on mute.
thank you for Mr. Paris and Mr. Kevin for the answer. I know regretfully, I think we run out of time. I know we still, all of us want to ask so many questions, especially Dr. Warunga still here. I myself want to ask some questions, but you know what? I think we have to close this webinar. Is it Buhani? Is it correct? We don't have. Do we still have time to ask more questions, or is it?
I think there is Pak Agus Munir want to ask. He is already a spotlight by the administration.
Okay.
Pak Agus want to
So
ask
we
something
give.
maybe. Yeah, give one more chance for him.
Okay, so we give a chance for Pagus. Maybe if you can ask some brief question. So go ahead. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the chance. I would like to ask the question. It's about the problem that I always face in my class because I'm teaching not only for special childrens but also common childrens. So sometimes when I give a special treatment for special children, some of the common students, they always tell me like, "Oh, Mister, I'm jealous to him because you always treat him better. You have spent more time with them, but not with me." So some of these jealous children sometimes just they don't get it why I like having special treatment for special students. So sometimes I spend a lot of time just to explain to them why I should doing this, why I should doing that. So this is the common that sometimes until now I still face this kind of problems. So maybe Miss Herlina Christianti could give me some advice for my students because I always face this kind of problem every single time. Thank you.
Mr. Agus, I think, would you like Mr. Warunga to answer the question? I know she's have more expertise. It's not because Miss Hani, but I think Miss Hani also
Yeah.
said, I think
Okay.
Miss
It's
Warunga have more, yeah. So I think it's suitable for her. Miss Warunga, would you like to answer this type of question? I know we have a
Well, yeah,
problem with.
I'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead. And since I'm
Thank
here,
you.
I was about to log off. It's actually past midnight my time. I should be going to bed now. But that is an interesting question that you have. But it's also a good thing in one way. The reason I smile is because it's a good thing because especially in the United States for a long time, there was stigma around a child that had a disability. Other students, thought something is wrong with them. They call them all kinds of names. But if your students actually want that time, special time, then it shows some extent of acceptance, which is a good thing in my opinion. But to answer your question, I think I talk about this a lot about advocacy for children with disabilities, and as an advocating for them does not have to come from you as a teacher, but from them, the students themselves, but also their peers, the classmates. And how you can do that is explaining from the beginning of the year, not necessarily putting the student on the spot saying, oh, they have a disability and so they need extra help, but presenting it in a way like, this our friend, he just learns differently. And he probably, the time that you might need for me to explain something to you, our friend right here might need a little bit more extra. But setting that as a precedent from the beginning of the class, and the classmates understanding that from the beginning would be really more helpful. But it also not only helps them understand, but it can also help in that joint effort of supporting, because sometimes students learn better from their peers more than you as a teacher, as much as that can make you a little bit jealous as a teacher that the students want to listen to another student. But that one special education student that needs a lot of help, your other students might actually have learned the skill already, and it can help with you pairing them up with that student, and they become peer tutors for them, and that will free up some time for you to give support to other students. So having it as a team approach, and this time an approach that involves all your students and not just the students with disabilities, might be helpful.
Thank you for your tips for me, Dr. Rubai Werunga. That's really helpful for me. I will try to attempt what you taught to me, maybe next year's. Thank you.
You're welcome. But Kevin and everybody, and Honey, you need to add something on there, because you are an expert too.
Yeah, Pak Agus, like I told you in my presentation, it should be different for each student. And the regular school is not easy when you give more attention for special needs student than the others. So I agree with Rayunga that you should taught everybody in the school, in the classroom. We have special friend here. So sometimes I need to work a lot with him or her. And then if I cannot help him or her, you can help him too. So you can using the tutor teman sebaya in Indonesia, we call that, yeah. The friend can help each other friends. So all the students in one class in inclusive education should be aware if they have special friends in their classroom, and it will be help them to have empathize with other, something like that. That's my suggestion. Kevin and Faris, what is your experience in your country?
Yeah, what works well for me is the peer tutoring. As mentioned, for one, they are more engaged when they are working with their peers. And then number two, the peers who are assisting feel capacitated as well. And they have that sense of responsibility for their fellow. And also, I remember the relevance of co-teaching, right, Dr. Robai? So if it's possible for your institution to employ co-teaching, this will also help in accommodating or being responsive to all the learners.
And co-teaching in this sense is, you as a special education teacher, you're working in conjunction with the general education teacher. And so you're in the same space at the same time. That way, the students that are regular, like they don't need help, they don't feel left out, and you're taking turns working with students at the same time, so that there's no one student like being left alone and feeling that they're left out, because you have two adults or working with the same students at the same time.
Farid, how about you?
All right. Okay. Yes, the same goes to Dr. Robai, Hani, and Kevin. Yeah, in a Malaysian situation, like we are now implement the co-teaching for vocational special education school, and now we are implement individual teaching learn plan, and then we also have we call the student assistant officer, that they are looking for, like, to help a student, for example, how to attend or accompany a student to restroom, or to handle their emotional behavior or so on. But and then teacher can concentrate, plan together with the partners, and then looking for the suitable resources to cope the student needs. Then and one more thing, in Malaysia, we have a policy for the special needs student. Let's call it what? Only two two equal X student, two teachers equal X student in the class, not more than X students. So we can focus directly and focus what we should teach them, or what we should to accompany to cope their needs during the school or class session. But what we know, we are not ordinary or like common classes, because we are facing with the student behavior, and then we are facing with the how we are to control the classes, and then how we are try to finish our syllabus itself, right? So what we try to do is just not to stress our mental, that we try, but how we try to doing the best practice to student become more fun in the class, or not to they are not in stress during this class, and then how we are trying to engage them, like we are like not we are like they are we are not their enemies, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's a really interesting topic here. I don't think it's 3 hours enough. Probably we need to have maybe all day, all this about talking about all the special needs student. And also thank you, Dr. Varunga, that still stick with us. I know it's already late over there, and maybe it's early morning where she reside. And I know it's not like in the background; it's kind of like warm and breezy. But I know it's really cold over there. Maybe snow already falling down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is my consolation. My background is my consolation for the weather. I'm trying to imagine where I was in the summer.
I know.
But it is really cold. That's why I have this on.
How many degrees over there?
Actually today is not bad. It is in the 40s, in the low 40s today.
Okay, I know it's
that is Fahrenheit, not centigrade.
Yes.
So it's probably
It's
in the
a-
10s or something.
It's
But it's better today. It was colder yesterday. We don't have snow yet. We had snow a couple of days, ago, but it's melted.
It's a
We have
boot
some ice.
and a coat season. Boot and coat season. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah. But yeah, I'm grateful actually. I wanted to stay on just in case. I did not want to talk and then just go away in case people had questions. But thanks again for the opportunity to do this with you guys, and I'm really glad to see the alumnus from UMass Lowell. Hoping that we can have more of those exchanges so we can see some new faces coming to UMass Lowell.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
look forward. We look forward for that and appreciate it that you still stick around. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible journey we have together. Our mind has been enriched with insight and shared passion for inclusive education. Before we officially conclude this webinar, I'd like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for Dr. Dean and also especially Dr. Warunga that still stay with us. You ought to have illuminated our understanding of tailored strategy for English language learning in special needs education. Again, thank you to our esteemed speaker for two of you. To our participant, whether you join us from bustling city or maybe remote area, I know some of them from distant, it's not just from Jakarta. Thank you for being active part of this discussion. Your engagement, question, and commitment to inclusive education are the driving force behind this event. Together, we are fostering a community that value diversity and strive for educational equality. Thank you to everybody who helped to make this event happen, even though maybe far from perfect. Thank you once again for being part of this transformation experience. Safe travel on your educational journey, and until we meet again, let's keep that conversation going. Thank you very much. And before we close, we depart, we say goodbye. I would like everybody to open the video so we can have a picture together. Bu Hani, maybe some the operator, can I take a picture together for the
Yes, Pak Pepi will help us and Pak Win.
Okay, go
Dr.
ahead.
Obay, here is Ira, Nina, and Pak Win with us.
Already taken, are we?
Yeah, are you ready?
Ready, everybody? Already taken?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you very much. I know this is not going to be the end. It may be just the beginning. Maybe we can see you all again.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Congratulations for our success.
Hi. Hello, Maris.
Thank you. Thank you so
Kevin.
much.
How are you?
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you.
Again.
Awin,
Hello.
Pai,
Great to
Pak
see
Win
you
of
again.
Change.
Thank
ya
you.
Ira. Ini Bapak.
Haris,
Thank you, Bapak.
Kevin, thank you.
Thank you so much
Pak Win
for
of Change.
coming
Thank you.
to be presenter.
Pak Win of Change. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for
Okay,
all our
Kevin.
participants.
Okay.